So, Coach, on behalf of all the Notre Dame baseball alum that are participating on this call and those that could not be on it, which is a tremendous honor to kind of welcome you to the program and introduce you to this unique bunch of alumni. For you guys on the call, Coach Stiffler he was a pitcher at George Mason. He graduated in 2001. And from there, he immediately joined the staff at George Mason. He was there for 6 years before catapulting that into becoming an assistant coach at VCU for 6 years, where he then became the head coach for the last 10 seasons. As an assistant, he was under legendary coach Paul Keyes, the late coach Paul Keyes, who had 500 collegiate wins. Coach Stiffler, three-time A10, won the A10 regular season 3 times, also participated in the NCAA tournament 3 times, has had multiple 35-win seasons at his time at VCU, and was part of the tournament both in 21 and 22, which is important. The South Bend community and Notre Dame community welcome him and his wife, Jennifer. He's got 3 kids. Wade is his only boy. He's 11 years old. And then also Scout and Penn are his 2 daughters. And fellas, with names like that for your girls, Scout and Penn, you know we got a good baseball guy at the helm. And, in full disclosure, I've only had one conversation with Coach Stiffler, and it was last week for 5-10 minutes in preparation for this call. And the 2 things that really jumped out to me, he says, Jav, this place is so special, man. Just the way that people care, that genuinely care about this university, its mission, and about this baseball program. And then we started talking about you guys, the alumni, and he stopped me dead in my tracks, and he says, I want to make something real clear to you, man. He goes, this is your guys' program. So, Coach, without further ado, man, if you don't mind, just share a couple words with this bunch. And, I see you got some of your staff on here as well. We welcome you, man, and we appreciate you taking the time here tonight.
Well, Javi, thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. It is wonderful to connect with everybody, and certainly thank you to Matt Weldy and Sean Carroll of the Monogram Club who have set this up. And this was something that was really, really important to me from the start, is to get an opportunity to try to connect as much as I could with all of you and everybody who has turned the program into what it is today, and just kind of give my feelings of gratitude and how special I do feel that this place is. And like Javi has said, you can really feel that from campus to administration to alumni that we meet, to people that we meet in and around South Bend, to people that we meet recruiting. What it strikes me the most is, right from the start, one of my first days on the job, being in an airplane, just wearing the logo, the monogram, and how many people come up and talk to you and speak to you and have a connection to the university. It just goes well beyond the campus of Notre Dame, well beyond South Bend, and well beyond the Midwest. And it's really, really special. And my family and myself feel very, very fortunate to be a small part of it. And like Javi said, this program, and I mean it sincerely, this program does not belong to me now. It never will belong to me. This program belongs to the players. I'm here to serve the players in the program currently, and I'm here to serve the alumni and do the best I can to steward the program, to uphold the traditions and to uphold the standard that you all have created. And so I hope you always feel a piece of this program, and that is sincerely important to me, for sure. And I hope that we are judged beyond the wins and losses, but also judged on how we uphold that standard for you. And I do mean that sincerely when I say that. And I can't thank Javi enough for taking the time out of his busy schedule. And I know, I hope everybody on this call and their families were out of the path of the storm. Hurricane Ian over this past week and the devastation. And so thankful that Javi's okay down there. And I hope everybody else's families are doing well as well. As Javi mentioned, we do have our staff on here. And I could talk all night about how proud I am of them and how lucky I am to be a member of the staff with them, and how excited I am to watch them lead our current players, lead the future of our program, and help me establish the standard that we want to create in the program. But I would like to take some time and just let them introduce themselves, if that's okay, so you can hear their voices and see their faces, and maybe tell you where they're coming from and a little bit on their background really, really quick. There's 4 of them on the call with us right now, and we'll start with our recruiting coordinator, Logan Robbins. If he could be unmuted, that would be a big help.
Good evening, guys. I'll kind of echo Coach Stiffler. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to be on this call, and so many things that he said, talking about what this logo means to so many people, not just in the Midwest, but around the country. Makes me proud every day to put it on and go to work. And a lot of times that's because there's so many people like you that are also very proud of it. And so our one goal is going to be always to make sure that you guys are happy and excited about the direction that the program is headed. And I look forward to meeting all of you. And if you ever need anything, I hope that you guys will reach out, and I'll be glad to answer any questions or talk some baseball. And, I think a lot of times in recruiting, it helps me when I'm on the phone with kids to hear stories that you guys share with me, because then I pass those stories along to recruits, and it begins to get them excited about everything that we have going on at Notre Dame. I mean, as I found on the phone with kids, it's a really fun sell when you start talking about the academics and you start talking about the college experience, and then you mix that in with the level of baseball that we're playing. And again, where I can really get them excited is when we start talking about stories that you guys share with me and the player development that we're going to be doing with our guys each and every day. And so for me, that's always going to be the main focus is player development and making sure that our guys are getting better on and off the field. And as I talk to you guys about who I am, I'm from Kentucky, grew up in Kentucky, was fortunate enough to play professional baseball for a while, and got into college coaching with my former college coach, the same guy that I played for in college. He hired me to be his assistant at Old Dominion. And so I spent 7 years at Old Dominion. And, it took a lot for me to leave Old Dominion. I had several job opportunities come up in my time there, and I didn't want to leave because for me, it's about being around the right people. And as soon as Coach Stiffler called me about this job, I knew what type of person he was and what type of leader he was. And so that immediately opened my ears. And then all of a sudden you start talking about Notre Dame, and the two went hand in hand. And so I was able to come get this job and be here. And I'm proud to be here to have this across my chest, but also to have a great boss that I think is a great mentor and a great leader. And it brings energy every day to the field, and that I really appreciate. And so again, I really appreciate you guys being on here. I look forward to talking to you and getting to know you more. And anytime you need something, I don't think our emails are up on the website yet. We're working on it, but I'll be glad to put that in a chat or put my number in a chat. And anytime you guys need something, please let me know, especially if you have good players. If you run across some good players, and you're like, hey, this guy can really play. I would love to know that guy's name and his number and how I can get a hold of him. That would be greatly appreciated. So again, questions are always going to be answered by me, but if you can send us some really good players like most of you guys, I'll be even more excited. So again, thank you guys so much. And I look forward to talking again soon.
Coach Volz.
Yeah, I'll start with my Zoom name is misleading. If you go to look me up in your local phone book, I'll be under Volts now. I dropped the first part of the hyphenation. I'm getting married here in December, and Emily and I agreed. She didn't. I don't think she wanted to explain to everybody what the hyphen was for. So, but yeah, I played at VCU. Coach Stiffler was actually my pitching coach. Grew up in Richmond, Virginia. Pitched a lot at VCU. Was talented enough for Stiff to keep me on the field, but not talented enough for anybody to draft me. So they beat me up and kept me on the mountain as long as they could. Coached there for a couple years, went out to UT Martin for 2 seasons, which is in Northwest Tennessee. And then I went to Wofford College for 5.5 years. Coach Stiffler asked me to join him at VCU when they had an opening this past November. So I came back to my hometown and to my alma mater and bought a house and asked my girlfriend to marry me. And then Coach Stiffler called me up again at the end of June and asked me if I'd go to Notre Dame with him. So if anyone needs some property in Richmond or knows someone who needs somewhere to stay, let me know. But thank you guys, and I'll pass it to Coach Munger.
Go ahead, Coach Munger.
Hi, everybody. As Coach Stiffler mentioned, my name is Ryan Munger. I grew up in the Houston, Texas area. I went to play at Duke. I was, unlike Coach Volts, where I wasn't very good, but they at least kept me around the program for a few years. And while I was sitting the bench a lot, I did learn a thing or two. And once I got done playing, I got started into coaching. I ended up coaching at Davidson College, a small school down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was there for past nine years. Just kind of worked my way up. Got to know Coach Stiffler, Coach Volts a little bit just from being in the conference, and got tired of losing to Coach Stiffler and VCU over the time. So when I got the opportunity to come jump aboard and be a part of his staff, it was a no-brainer for me, and hopefully figure out what magic fairy dust he sprinkles upon his guys to win 20 straight games at the end of the year. And hopefully that's something we can continue to do at Notre Dame. And as Coach Robbins said, I'd love to be available to any and all of you guys, and hopefully welcome all of you back to come visit Notre Dame and be back on campus, see a game in the springtime, and hopefully interact with you guys a little bit.
And the last member of our staff is John Lyons Harrison. John's on the call. John, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. Hey guys, my name is John Lyons Harrison. I'm our director of baseball operations. So I serve a couple of different roles. I help a lot out with the budget, team travel, equipment, recruiting visits, things of that nature. Basically just do everything I can to take care of the off the field stuff, to let these guys do what they do best, which is coach and develop the players, and put a successful product on the field. I come from Lafayette College in Pennsylvania, where I was our hitting coach, recruiting coordinator, and infielders and outfielders coach over my 3 years there. And I crossed paths with Coach Volts at Wofford for a year in 2019 as well, and then was with the San Diego Padres and the University of Richmond before that. And I think I speak for all of us when I say we have a sense of gratitude for you guys for creating the program here and setting the standard. And as Coach Stiff said, we feel a tremendous sense of responsibility to you all to keep that rolling and keep the standard to where it's at, and hopefully raise it to new heights. And to see this kind of great turnout here on a Zoom call on a Monday night, it speaks to your guys' level of dedication. It's not something that we take for granted or take lightly at all. And we'll do our best to make you proud out there. And rest assured that the guys in the program are in good hands with this coaching staff here that I feel tremendously lucky to be a part of. So thank you guys for being here tonight.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you guys. And I'm glad to get a chance for those guys to introduce themselves. And I can tell you how lucky I am to work with them every day. But I think one thing that's important is what they each bring to the table. And I had mentioned in my press conference, there were certain things that were going to be really, really important to me. One was going to be pitching and defense. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't do that until you throw strikes. And I don't think there's anyone better to lead a staff of pitchers or to develop strikes. If you look over the last couple of years, Coach Volts' staffs at both Wofford and VCU have been among the best strike throwers in the country. And that was really, really important to me as we were putting together our staff. And then from there, Coach Munger is going to coach our catchers. This past year, he coached the Johnny Bench finalist, the first team All-American behind the plate, and also the Gold Glove winner for catching. So I thought that was really, really important to add to the battery. And then I wanted our offense to be dynamic. I wanted it to be able to score in bunches when it needed to, but also win baseball games. 4-2 when the offense and the wind is blowing in at Frank Eck, which I hear it does happen all the time. And that's Coach Robbins. And if you look across college baseball over the last several years. You can see what Old Dominion's offense has done in Conference USA. And so these guys, there's 4 recruiting coordinators on this call tonight, which is pretty cool as well. So obviously, you know where my mindset is on the recruiting aspect of things as well. So, but listen, I'm going to let Javi, you ready to run this thing and put me on the spot?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, Coach, we took some questions from the alumni. Obviously, we're not going to have time probably to get through all of them, but yeah, just to see the human side of you, man. I'm sure you've had a lot going on here in the fall. And I'll start with this, Coach. Obviously, priority number 1 when taking over a program is obviously to assemble a staff, some bunker guys that you care deeply about and that you feel like that can take the program in the direction that you're planning on taking it. But other than that, what have your first few months looked like on campus, taking over a program? What are some of your immediate priorities?
Yeah.
Just anything that that's overwhelmed you or just been on your plate in these first few months, Coach? Well,
I've used the expression drinking from a fire hose over the last couple months quite a bit. And that's what it's been like, since being named head coach and relatively later in the summer. You move your family down here. You got to find a school for your children. You have to get yourself settled. Have to assemble the staff, which took some time. Not finding them, but just getting them on board and getting them through the hiring process at Notre Dame, which all of you know can sometimes take some time with Notre Dame. But once you did that, it was really evaluating the roster, evaluating who was on the recruiting boards, who offers had been made out to, kind of what that looked like, and really starting to shape what the current roster was going to look like for the 22-23 season, and then what those classes were going to look like over the next couple of years. I was very, very committed that I was going to keep the commitments of everyone who had previously committed to the former staff. One, I have great respect for the former staff and great respect for Coach Jarrett. But 2, I did not think that when a young man and his family have decided to take the course and take on Notre Dame as something that's going to shape the rest of their life, I did not think that I should come in and alter that once they've committed to that. And so I stayed firm to those commitments of those. So getting on the phone with those young men, letting them know that we were still committed to them, and then starting to assemble our own recruiting boards as well. From there, then you're just trying to put your office together, trying to find keys to all the doors. You're trying to find, where the balls are hidden, where the uniforms are, and really just try to piece together what your day-to-day is going to look like and start building out your systems, and we are still in the process of that. A little bit something different for me, Javi, than what was in Virginia. In Virginia, we would start team practice right about now. Right around October 1st was when we would start team practice. The first 6-7 weeks of school would be lifting, conditioning, skill work, small group stuff. Get the pitchers, take your time. Here at Notre Dame, obviously, because of 1, class expectations, academic expectations, but 2, looming weather. We had to get started with team practice right away, and so it was, hi, I'm Shawn Stiffler, and here's how we're going to do bunt defenses. It was kind of how it went, and so we had to jump right into it. So we are still trying to build out some of those processes in the weight room, conditioning wise, kind of implementing some of our philosophies on how we want to attack offense, defense. Some of those things we're still trying to build out with the players currently right now.
Coach, I know you guys played some exhibition games this fall. Maybe share with a bunch, a little update, maybe some guys that surprised you that are returning on the current roster, or any newcomers that maybe we should be on the lookout for.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I think, the roster is, we were looking at it today. I think we only return about 50%, about 56% of our at-bats from last year, and only about 36% of our innings pitched returned from last year. So there's quite a bit of guys who are competing for opportunities. We do have a core 4 or 5 position players. We have probably about 6 guys right now who have played and committed and have gotten a ton of experience with it. Zach Prasner, I'm trying to think who else. Potts has been in the lineup on and off quite a bit, playing first base, and he's going to continue to do that for us. Again, Jack Ziska in left field is going to continue to play for us and do a great job for us. And he's going to play left field and maybe hold down the DH role as well. Probably going to see a new guy in center field. There's a couple guys, DM Jefferson and TJ Williams, are both going back and forth trying to compete for that position as well. Brooks Coatsy is maybe our most experienced player in right field. He'll be returning as well. We got a sophomore by the name of Jack Penny, who's done a really, really good job. I think it's going to be a really, really nice piece at the front end of our lineup as well. And then, from a young guy standpoint, Esteban Moreno is a freshman who I think has the ability to come in, and he was a highly sought after recruit. I think he has the ability to come in and perhaps make an impact right away as a young guy. On the position player side, it's very, very interesting. We have a group of 4 or 5, like we said, and that have played quite a bit. And then there's a huge gap of guys who maybe in their second or third year who honestly haven't played much. They haven't played much. And Coach Jarrett did a fabulous job with the grad transfers coming out of the COVID pandemic and the extra years that those guys got. He really, really used that to his strengths and used that opportunity. So what you have, though, is a lot of guys who haven't played, but although they've been in school for the last 2 or 3 years. So we need some of those guys to emerge and come out and be guys for us, whether it's Danny Near could be a huge asset to us behind the plate. Casey Komet could really, really help us as well at third base if he comes on as well. So there's some guys in there that we're looking to make a jump. And then on the mound, really, to be quite honest with you, everything's kind of very wide open right now with that few amount of innings. I mean, I think the real cornerstone coming back, on the mound is Jack Finley, who had an unbelievable freshman year and really pitched into Omaha. We have several guys like Will Mercer, who's pitched quite a bit for Notre Dame over the last couple of years, is coming off he had a pretty major surgery over the summertime, and he's coming back from that. So we hope to get him back soon as well. And that would be a nice shot in the arm. But from there's a lot of innings that haven't been thrown that need to either go to some upperclassmen who need to step up, or maybe some freshmen. And we do have one freshman in particular, David Lowley, who has thrown really, really well for us. And he was a highly sought after recruit, and also had a chance to be a pretty high draft pick, but turned down a lot of money because he wanted to get the Notre Dame experience and the Notre Dame education. So we're working through it. They're learning us, we're learning them, and hopefully we're able to get some guys, healthy. Another big piece to this will be getting Matt Bedford back. He was ineligible actually last year, and then had a major surgery in the summertime as well on his hip. So he would be a nice piece for us to come back as well. And then Aiden Terrell has thrown really well for us this fall as well. He's another veteran left-hander. So we do have some veteran presence, but really we haven't had anybody yet that's other than Finley that has a ton of experience returning on the mound. So there are some growing pains there.
Absolutely. Speaking of Finley, that might have been one of your guys' biggest recruits and priorities when he took over the job. So I know there was a few days, there were some rumblings that he was entering the portal, which we might as well jump into right now, Coach. I hear it all the time. You got out of coaching at the right time. You got this NLI money now, deals getting thrown around. You got the transfer portal. You talk about, the previous coach had done a decent job recruiting guys out of the portal. How do you see either of those, factoring into your program? I mean, are we actively, I know schools in the SEC, potentially the ACC, are going out and using some of these NLI monies to recruit kids, at the high school age, and then also to keep kids in the program happy. So you got that you're dealing with, and then also the transfer portal. What's kind of like your philosophy on both of those, Coach? If you could just spend some time touching on each one of those, how you feel about them, how you see them fitting into your program.
Sure. Well, let's start. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start with the transfer portal. So really at the University of Notre Dame, it's really not going to be an option for us to really use the undergrad part of the transfer portal, to be quite honest with you. The credits just aren't going to transfer into the university, to be quite honest. And so our bread is always going to be buttered with the development of the high school player, plain and simple. It's going to be a program that develops, that recruits high school players and develops them. And that's really going to be the bread and butter of what we do. Now, the other part of that is the graduate transfer, guys who have an extra year of eligibility left when they finish up and get their degree at a school, and then have the ability to come to Notre Dame for 1 year as a graduate transfer. And where Coach Jarrett did a really nice job was during COVID, everybody's gotten an extra year. So you had 3 or 4 years we've had of everybody in the country has gotten 1 more year of eligibility. And so guys would finish up, and then, obviously the master's degree at the University of Notre Dame is very, very attractive. The ACC is very, very attractive. And Coach was able to use that to his benefit for sure. Because we are coming now our 4th year out of COVID, or almost our 4th year of those guys, this is really the last year right now of that graduate transfer piece. And we are going to hit that up. We are going to go after those guys and make a push, because I do think we need a shot in the arm next year. We lose a lot of guys, like guys like Carter Potts, guys like Brooks Coatsy who we lose. And that's a lot of offense that we're going to be saying goodbye to. So we are going to have to hit up that transfer portal. However, we will have to see how that continues to be an avenue, because that is drying up from the COVID piece. There will be some guys left over as the years continue, but those guys will be guys who either had injuries or didn't use eligibility for a year prior to graduating. As far as NIL goes, Notre Dame has a very, very, unique stance to it, is what I'd call. One, I think NIL money, like everything else, was a good idea when it started, but it got quickly exploited and is being used in directions that it was never meant to. But unfortunately, that toothpaste is out of the tube right now, and all we can do is react to that. Notre Dame's stance on NIL is that it's short-sighted. And I agree with that we are selling much more than just a few extra dollars on your scholarship. We are selling really the next 40 years of your life, trying to set you up and prepare you to go out into the world and be a leader, and to be a person that can really make an impact on your community and really the country and the world. And so we're going to continue to do that. Are we going to explore avenues of NIL? Yes, we are, but it's going to be from a standpoint of putting our student athletes in a position, from educating them on how to market their own brand and how to make themselves successful and how to use their brand, and how to benefit from it. And we're going to provide opportunities and avenues like everybody else will. But I can tell you, there will not be a sit down with any coach at Notre Dame right now where we say, hey, we're going to make sure that you get $20,000 to $40,000 extra in NIL money. That's just not going to happen in the baseball program right now, or really any other Olympic sports at the university. And so I do know Jack Swarbeck is constantly in front of these things. NIL is forever evolving. I think it's going to be something completely different in a year or two from now than it is currently. But right now, our vision is a little bit more sold on finding the right families, finding the right athletes who see the bigger picture of what Notre Dame can do for your life and what Notre Dame can do for you, as opposed to just trying to take something that is the cheapest price right now, or maybe gives you a couple bucks in your pocket. That's short-sighted. Now, unfortunately, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, everything you do is short-sighted. And so So we are competing against the best teams in the country who have it. And we are feeling that. We're feeling that pressure, but I still believe in the message, and I still believe in what Notre Dame means to everyone who attends.
Nicely put, Coach. A little bit of a personal question here. I'll kick it around. Who would you say has had the most profound impact on you as a baseball guy?
That's a great question, because I've gotten a chance to be around so many people, and I am nothing but a copycat of those people, or I hope a reflection of them. But it would start with my grandfather on my mother's side. He pitched 9 years in the big leagues and coached for 34 years at the high school level. And so growing up, it was stories of Ted Williams and stories of Stan Musial and him telling me, stories about, he actually pitched for the Chicago White Sox, and talking about stories of the South Side of Chicago. And so that's where my love for the game came in. And that's where kind of I was first introduced to how a coach could impact young people, was watching people come from different towns to work with him and work on pitching with him. And so I would say it would have to be him for sure. He is the guy in my life that has, certainly introduced me to baseball. And then, like you said, I was very fortunate to work for Bill Brown. I played in college for JJ Piccolo, the current president of the Kansas City Royals. He had such an impact on me on how to be professional and how to handle and work with young men. And Bill Brown, who was the head coach at George Mason for 42 years, I got a chance to work under him. So there's been a lot of guys who have been an influence on me, but it all started for me when I was very young with my grandfather.
Thanks, Coach. You look at the ACC, right? It's regarded as one of the top, conferences in all of college baseball. And I think I speak on behalf of everybody on this call, the former alumni, that we want nothing more than to continue to elevate, the program's success. And this question here, Coach, is directed from a resource standpoint, right? Like, to be considered a national powerhouse, we got to stay up, keep up with what these great programs are doing in the ACC and SEC. So if you had, let's say, an unlimited budget, Coach, what would be the first 2 or 3 things that you would think that our program needs to do in order to remain at the level that they're turning it over to at?
Well, I tell you what, there are 4 things on my mind in the near future that I think need to happen. And the first one is there's 2 very minor projects at the field that I think could really, really have an impact. One, we have to get our dugouts fixed and situated. Our dugouts are too small, and then during COVID, they brought out some temporary fencing to increase our spacing, and the players like that temporary fencing, and they kept it. But it is temporary fencing, and so I'd like to see that fencing become permanent and expand those dugouts. I think that's the first thing for player experience and player enjoyment, because the former dugouts are quite honestly just too small. Second is we need a video board tomorrow, to be honest with you. I think that's one of the biggest pieces of any program right now, is a video board that handles recruiting, that handles player development, that handles fan experience, camps. It can really impact 4 different pieces of your program very, very quickly, and has probably the most impact for I don't say they're not cheap, but for the least amount of money, probably has the most reaching impact of really anything you can do. The next thing that I would do is continue to enhance our player development area, meeting room for the team, areas where we can meet and dress as coaches, expand, have a training room over on the field for our guys to be at as well, and then have a place for the visiting team to use the restroom. And then the 4th biggest thing would be the charter flights. Figure out the travel piece of the ACC. As you know, the ACC for us means nothing but flying, and to be able to add another charter flight or 2 per year, it would have to be every away series, but another 1 or 2 per year, where we could get down, leave after class, not miss class, and still get in time to Tallahassee to work out, take ground balls the night before like everybody else does, and then get back on Sunday night at a decent hour where we're just not killing our guys. Those three or four things right there are really important and are the first four things I'd like to see done. The facility, of course, needs to get some a little bit of love to it. It's starting to show its age. It is behind where many of the other facilities are. I will say this: I don't really have a ton of interest in expanding it. I don't think expansion is the way to go. I think building and adding to what we have and making it unique, making it very clean, very nice, very tidy is more of my vision. I don't know if on March 4th in South Bend, Indiana, if we're ever going to sell that thing out with 5,000 or 6,000 people. I don't think the weather is going to allow that. However, I do think what recruits and what alumni see on TV when they're watching us from center field and they're watching us play on ESPN or the ACC network, I think having some chair backs, having a nice, very quaint and very, very clean and tidy, cool looking stadium. And I think there's a lot we could do there because there's a lot of room, and just add some cool pieces to it. You could have something really, really cool. And what you're looking for is you're trying to give recruits a reason why not. Okay. And it doesn't have to be the best facility. Notre Dame is one of those schools that there's a lot of reasons why you should come, a ton of reasons why you should come to Notre Dame. You don't want, we got to get the stadium to a point where a player would look up and say, I'm not going there because of the facility. And that's where we want to make sure we want to stay out of that area. I don't think we're there right now, but as you know, every day is an arms race in the ACC and in Power 5 baseball. And so, we do have to make plans to start moving forward on some things, I do believe, to keep up with the rest of our league.
Appreciate you sharing that, Coach. And I know on the time when we spoke last week, you had mentioned like a team meeting room as well.
Yeah.
As part of the longer term, I guess, goals.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of room down the first base side to expand, and just having an area to create a classroom to meet with your players. It's very difficult at Notre Dame because of the class schedules. The players are constantly coming and going. So having somewhere convenient where we can sit down, watch some video from the previous inter squad, maybe draw up some plans on a whiteboard of bunt coverages or defenses, or put together a presentation. To be honest with you, put together a Zoom where one of you are speaking to the team. I'd love to do those type of things. We have so many wonderful alumni out there who are doing so many wonderful things in their community and in their businesses. But to create a room like that where we can sit down and have those quick talks and those sessions, I think it's invaluable. And so, we're teachers first. And so, to have a classroom setting like that would be really, really nice. And the Murphy room is unbelievable. I mean, it is as beautiful as you can be. From a team room, we host recruits there. I mean, people are amazed by that, but it is set up a little bit more for us to lounge and to do things. We have to bring chairs in whenever we want to, when we ever want to turn it into a classroom setting. We have to bring chairs in or rearrange it. And I just don't want the wear and tear on that because it's such a beautiful, showcase room and lounge for the players. Just maybe some space off the side that we could meet a little bit more as a team would be really conducive to us.
Coach, speaking of that, one of the questions that came in, roster limits, is it still at 35, 27 on scholarship, and still only 11.7 are spread out amongst that?
Yeah, yes and no. Because of COVID, basically it gets a little bit tricky. If somebody was on your team and is in their last year of eligibility and has already graduated, and they were on your roster when COVID hit, they do not count against your roster. So it's 35, and then any of those guys who are on that roster do not count if they were there during COVID. And then it is 27 and 11.7 still. I will tell you, I think that is probably within a year from changing, though. one way or another. I think you're going to see some big changes come down from the NCAA and the transformation committee pretty sooner than later.
Okay. How about that third paid assistant? Is that something that'll be kind of jumbled in there as well?
Yeah, I think that's actually going to go. I think what they'll do is move the number to 5 accountable coaches. This is me guessing from what I've read, and I think it'll go to 5 accountable coaches, and you can use them however you want. You can say, okay, you are coaching the catchers, but you're also going to be director of operations, and you're going to be the pitching coach, but you're also going to be in charge of travel. You can use them however you want. But I think it'll be 5 people that can be on the field, and then they will give us recruiting days. They'll say, okay, of these 5, you all can go out 200 times in a year. And then you split it up how you see fit. I think that's more the road they're going to go down, Javi, than just adding another coach.
Speaking of pitching, coach, come springtime, coach, you'll be the one dialing in the pitch calling, or is that something you defer
No,
to the boys on?
No, that's Coach Volts. I just sit in the corner and panic the whole time, Javi. That's all I do. No, Coach Volts he'll run the pitching. These guys put in so much time watching video, watching technology, reading scouting reports. Really any info I could give them really might screw things up, to be quite honest with you. Coach Robbins will run the offense. Coach Volts will run the pitching. And really for me, if we are doing our jobs, we have a philosophy that I set on how we're going to pitch, how we're going to attack hitters, how we're going to defend, and how we're going to create offense. And Coach Robbins and Coach Volts and I talk in between every inning and what we think is going on. And I trust them to work. I'm a big believer in hiring good people and getting out of their way. So I will stay out of their way as much as possible. They'll probably tell you they wish I stayed away a little bit more. But I like to think that I do let them go work.
This is being recorded, right? Everybody, I saw this was being recorded.
Hey, Coach Robbins, I got a question maybe more directed at you. How many kids do we have committed in that? What would that be? The 23 class, right? And how many of those are guys that you guys retained, or like, I guess your first commit as a staff, like you inherited some, but have there been any that you guys have gone out there and been like, we knew about this kid, we're at Notre Dame now, we're all in on him,
So Coach Robbins jumped off. He actually had a recruiting call there with the young guys.
Hey, there you go. We're working, guys. There you go. Firsthand.
Yeah, I love it.
We're out there.
I love it.
Yeah, I have one. You ready for this, Javi? And you know this being at LSU. I have one tonight at 8:00 with a 2026. That means a freshman in high school. So we don't need to get down that. But to answer your question, when those young guys call, you just have to answer, because you can't call them if they're a sophomore or freshman in high school. Excuse me. With the 23 class, we added one arm in that 23 class, but that had been done. The players that you would say are really like this caliber of player, this level, Power 5, that has been done for a year, if not 2. That class. There was one kid out of Wisconsin that we had a good relationship with that had been under the radar for a certain amount of reasons. But in the 24 class, we had 2 infielders and 1 pitcher that were committed when we got here. That was the class that we really walked into. That was the class that Coach Munger, myself, Coach Robbins were all recruiting pretty heavily this summer when Coach Stiffler got the job. So there were some names that we already had that we added. Since then, we went from 2 positional players to 6 in that class. And from 1 arm, we added another arm. And I'd say we have 2 pretty much on the hook. We're reeling them in right now, and then we'll make some decisions. Coach Robbins and I are going to Jupiter, Florida on Wednesday to make some final decisions on some arms as well.
Nice. Good luck with that. I'm going to bring in Weldy again, because I'm looking at the clock here. I know, Coach, you got a hard cut at 8:00. So, Weldy, I didn't know how you wanted to open it up for questions, or did we touch on enough? I got a little fun rapid fire here for Coach. I'm gonna catch him off guard, but I'll hit him with that at the end.
Yeah, I'll just say that if I'll pause for 30 seconds if anybody wanted to unmute. Coach Volz, we'll get you this recording. You can do that whatever you need to do with that. I got a 3-year-old over here too. If you want to start that recruiting early, we can do that. But
Yeah, send me some video.
there we go. It's coming your way. But I'll pause if there's any questions from the group, and then if not, we can get right into Javi's rapid fire.
Just wanted to tell you how excited we are to have you and to continue the excellence at Notre Dame. We're super happy that you're including the alumni, and I think that's something that was missing over the last few administrations there, last few coaching staffs, and super happy that you're doing this and taking the time to. So thank you.
No, it's my pleasure, and thank you all for joining. And I tell you, I would have been very, very embarrassed if we'd have set this up and 5 people jumped on. So again, you guys as well as everybody else has made me feel so welcomed. And so we will do this again. My plan is to maybe do this 3 times a year, fall, spring, and then one in the summer with some summer recruiting updates and things like that. So we'll continue to do it, and then obviously continue to hopefully host some things on campus as well.
Jump in there, Paulie.
Yeah, we have a alumni tailgate, don't we, for the Stanford game?
Yeah, please. I hope everybody can make it, and we will be playing our blue and gold World Series. Our last day of the fall. We'll have some recruits on campus as well. So I will have to keep some distance at times, just by NCAA rules, but looking forward to having you guys back, and anybody that's in town on that day, please. I know Matt's going to work on creating a very, very special day, and watch the Irish take care of the Cardinal.
Sounds great.
Be there, Coach. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, this is Mike Basilla real quickly. First of all, congratulations. Thank you for doing this. It's great to see so many familiar faces on the line. I've been chatting with a couple people off on the chat room here, but I knew we were in good shape the minute I saw that you had the best birthday in the world, April 2nd, which is also my birthday. So
there you go.
Well done. Question for you is, there's a lot about Notre Dame that you got to unpack. Certainly the recruiting process is part of it. For you personally, what has been the biggest surprise now that you've been on campus for a little while that you had no idea existed or just out of the blue for you?
Actually, Matt, please don't record this. The hardest thing has just been creating our own systems and folding them into and locking them in with Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame has a lot of its own traditions, a lot of its own procedures already, and you're not changing Notre Dame, which I don't want to. I wouldn't have taken the job if I thought that's what I wanted to do. But I think some of the biggest challenges are also some of the biggest or some of the best parts of the place. I mean, one, you have the academic standards, but two, you just have to be really, really mindful, as you guys know, of the players' time. There are days where we just need to pull back the reins a little bit. And as a new staff, that's been really difficult on me because I feel very rushed with weather coming in. I feel we don't know each other. Nobody has a good feel for each other. And yet at the same time, we need to make sure that we are giving the guys some space to get done what they need to do in the classroom as well. So I think the biggest difficult piece for me has just been adjusting to the players' schedule and what they need while not knowing them. The next thing that has shocked me the most, again, is just how much everybody loves Notre Dame and loves their experience, especially around the athletic department, around the university that I've come in contact. It really is sometimes look, I didn't go here. I certainly wish every day I could have gone here, but the hair stands up on my arms sometimes when I listen to people like you all talk about this place and how special it is. So it's that has been really the thing. It's really kind of been quite eye-opening, as to say the least.
Coach,
Yeah.
John Council, I represent kind of a long ago era of the 60s. And I see there's 2 former players that I played with, Jim Woolmine and Stouffer man. They're on the video here.
Good.
But hey, if you have an extra bat, a need for an extra bat, Dan Peltier, if he has an year of eligibility, he was a pretty good stick. So you ought to look at him. He played with my son in the 90s, and I'm sure he can still hit. But
Thanks, John. I can probably hit, but who's going to run for me?
Yeah.
So Paul, Dan Bouch here. I'll step in. I taught Dan how to play defense, so I can step in and play D for him. He can still hit for me though.
There you go. I have kind of a controversial question, and it's kind of a selfish question, but it was, have you heard anything at all about the Big Ten? I mean, we're in the middle of it, and we've been asked 3 times, and we've turned them down 3 times. And look, I'm happy being in the ACC. That's a phenomenal baseball conference, but it's just that it could solve a lot of budget problems for you. And I think it would be very interesting. And my selfish part of it is I have a grandson at University of Minnesota on scholarship, and I have one committed to Michigan. So, so we're gonna have some rivalries.
So I was asleep at the wheel. I missed on those 2. But no, I mean, to be honest with you, one, if I did have information, there's no way I'd be able to tell you. But 2, and I mean this, very, truthfully, that has not been anything that I have heard. I mean, I read the same rumors you all do and hear the same things, but Jack is very, very committed to our stance right now, as being independent. And he thinks that the brand has never been stronger. And he's very, very happy with the ACC and very happy. He does think that there's big changes coming. And I think he believes that he wants to let those play out on how all Olympic sports are structured and how all scheduling is made. But for me, I'd like to stay in the ACC. I think it's a big deal when you call up a recruit and say, hey, look, Michigan's recruiting you, Minnesota's recruiting you, Indiana's recruiting you, we're recruiting you. Of those schools, the only one that's ever going to go play in the South is us. And so I think that is a nice touch. And so that's my stance right now. And but believe me, that level is well beyond the new baseball coaches. That's well beyond anything I would be privy to.
Got it.
Hey, Coach, I got one here for you.
Yeah.
Shane Combs here. My last season was 2019, so I'm on the more recent end.
Yeah, you are.
Of the alums, but even since I was there, you're now the second new head coach of the third in 5 years. So could you just tell us for a couple minutes what are kind of the most personal and athletic values you kind of hang your hat on, what your philosophy is on, building a culture with the kind of the repeated regime changes?
Yeah, well, I think, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I think right now Notre Dame had a Omaha team. I don't know if Notre Dame had an Omaha program. Okay. And so Coach Jarrett did an unbelievable job navigating COVID, finding those transfers and coaching his tail off. But I think we're still looking for, because of COVID. And then he left after this year. He was only really coaching for 2 years. And so I think there's still going to be there's still a piece of the program that is longing for some sustainability and to be stable. And I am hoping to bring that, to be honest with you. I'm hoping to bring consistency to the program. This is, to me, a dream job. I'm not looking to get out of here. This is somewhere I want to be, and I hope administration allows me to do that. And so for me, Bud, it's really about letting the players know, one, that we're going to be very consistent in our message every day. I believe that's how you build culture. I think when people ask you to define your culture, you could have a tagline. I could have this, hey, we're going to be blue collar. We're going to be this. We're going to be Irish. We're going to, at the end of the day, we're going to fight for our culture every day. We are going to be very, very consistent. We are going to show up. They are going to know exactly what the standards are every day, whether it's in the community, in the classroom, and in our training, and then in our gameplay. We're going to be very, very consistent with that message every day, so that they know what to expect. They know what the standards are, And then from there, we're going to fight to keep it every day. And I believe that's where culture comes from. And so for me, I hope if I bring anything to this program, it's stability, to be quite honest with you. And I hope I can continue I hope, again, when you guys see our program, yes, I hope you see wins, and I hope you see regionals, and I hope you see Omaha. But more and more, I hope that you see that we are doing it the Notre Dame way, that we are doing it the right way. We're going about it the right way. And I believe that will lead to wins. I believe that. And I have asked just as many questions on what went wrong for regimes that did not have success here as I asked the questions of the regimes that did have success here. And, I think at the end of the day, accepting Notre Dame for what it is, embracing it, and then finding people who believe in that message is the number one thing you have to do from a recruiting standpoint. And then from there, be consistent with them and let them understand that the program belongs to them. It belongs to the players. I am here to serve them, but we are going to be consistent in that message every day. And I hope that leads to the stability that you're kind of speaking about, and you're not looking up on a phone call and saying, well, you're our third head coach in 9 years, in a couple of years. And that's really my first thought and process of taking over the program.
Think we got time for maybe one last question? Somebody out there? If not, I'll jump into
Javi, great flow, buddy. You've been a hell of a
Thank you.
moderator. Nice job, Javi.
That is plus.
Appreciate it, Tuli.
Yeah, I may be the
Coach,
old guy, get off my lawn here, but Coach, welcome. If you have any say in the uniforms and want to go to a more classic look, perhaps maybe do away with the gold helmets. Just a thought. Let's go back to a little classic.
I'm okay discussing this. I'm okay discussing this question real quick, or this point. The gold helmets, I can tell you, I don't think they're going away. That's an Under Armour piece, and uniform design has been taken out of our hands. I am a more classic uniform guy, but so I think you'll see us wear the green top a little bit more with the white pants instead of the green bottoms. But that being said, the boys need to be able to wear what the boys. It is for them and for their experience, and so.
Perfect.
Good question.
Thank you. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. Javi, how about those quick hitters?
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, no rhyme or reason behind it, Coach. I'm just going to throw a couple things at you, and you just pick one. Traditional catcher's mask, the two-piece, or hockey style?
Two-piece for me, but again, if there's a reason I got to wear the one, I get it, but I'm always a two-piece guy.
Same here. All right, sack bunt or sack fly?
Sack fly. Give yourself a chance.
Digital strike zone, or I love umpires, man.
Umpires.
AL MVP, Ohtani or Judge?
I lead toward a Judge because I think you have to be winning. Okay, but no one knows what Ohtani. No one's seen anything like. I've never seen anything like it, so it's hard. He needs his own category.
Bigger pet peeve: a pitcher balking or a pitcher not getting over on a PFP?
Balking.
High socks and stirrups or pants to the ankle?
Whatever the player prefers.
Last one here, Coach. Seeds or bubble gum?
Bubble gum because I play on turf, but probably more seeds because the players have them. I like to steal them.
All right. Hopefully we'll all get together again and chew some seeds in Omaha together, Coach. Thank you for your time.
Hey, Javi, can I say something real quick?
Absolutely, man.
Listen, before I leave, and I want to thank everybody again. I'd like to do this again. I'd like to do this before the season. What I would like is everybody on this call maybe to reach out to somebody who should be on this call. If you could, and invite them next time. If you could say, you know what, so-and-so would have enjoyed hearing this. If every one of us can bring one person, now we have 75 people on the call. And then maybe we do it again 3 months from now. And I think that's how you build momentum. That's how you build culture. So I would just ask you guys, if you wouldn't mind helping me the next time you see an email like this and you're able to participate, call somebody and bring them with you. Bring a friend. And I'd love to share anything we're doing with them as well. And so that's the only thing I have to say, other than I am blessed. I am thankful to be a part of this university and a small part of this baseball program. And please feel free to reach out at any time. And I look forward to a relationship with every one of you at some point. Javi, thank you very much for tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
Hey,
Coach.
everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach.
Thanks,
See you, fellas.
Javi.
Go
Good
Irish.
luck.
Go Irish.
Go Irish.
Go Irish.